Hey, this is Paul Ash, one of the guys with 8 eyes. No, what? It's 2 guys with 8 eyes. So both the people who host this have glasses, and that's why it's 2 guys, 8 eyes, and there's not glasses in the thumbnail. All right, maybe we're gonna have to rethink that picture. I'm pretty sure. But let me introduce my co-host on this, Lenny Iozzo. Lenny, how are you doing?
Good.
Did you like the nice little awkward intro? The way to kind of
It
bring
was
everyone
exactly
in.
it was exactly the way you wrote it.
Yeah, exactly. See, I'm just a perfect actor. It's not improv at all. It's not. I'm doing this exactly to the script. We are on beat for this completely, right?
Right.
And I pointed the wrong way.
That's
It's
okay.
that way.
Got to go that way.
That's okay. That way. How you been, Lenny? So this is sort of the second episode of 2 Guys, 8 Eyes. I should probably just there
Yeah,
we
that
go.
would work.
So
Yeah.
now it's 2 Guys with 8 eyes, and I feel like it looked like Gene Hackman and Bubbles had a baby. There's not a great look for me. I'm not sure, and I just saw over my shoulder that I've got alcohol bottles just in the record case. This is
I just noticed that.
yeah. I'm so that's what I've been doing for the past month. What have you been up to, Lenny?
Nothing much. Just keeping working on set. It's been really busy, especially last week. This week was a little slow, but I mean, this is what it is, right? I mean, it's the consistency of inconsistent work.
Exactly. I got to be on set a couple times in the past month as well. So thankfully, love being a working actor. So I had a principal role in a commercial, and I got
Oh,
a
great.
role on a film as well.
Nice.
So we want to welcome everybody who's tuning in there. Stefan Lalonde is there. Hey, Stefan, how are you doing? We got to play Crominos sometime soon. Steph is a working actor here on the island of Montreal. Great guy as well.
Absolutely.
Uh, Absolutely. Now we're talking about great people. Well, hold on. What sets were you on, or can you say? Because
Yeah,
I know
no,
I
I've been
didn't
doing a
catch that.
lot of work on the Republic of Sarah, and pretty much that. I mean, and with the improv gym that we have on Wednesday nights, so it's been busy.
Yeah, the Impro Gym. We're going to be talking about the Impro Gym a lot tonight because
Right.
we have a very special guest. Do you want
Yes, we do.
to introduce our wonderful guest at this point in time?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we met about, I'd say about 5, 6 years ago. I don't know, time flies. We met about 5, 6 years ago. Rosie, the love of my life, introduced us at the Actor Awards, and she introduced me. She said, this is, Anik Matern, and she's a great actress and an incredible coach. I think you guys would get along, and so this is the beginning of how our friendship started, and on a professional level as well, and on a personal level as well. But yeah, she's here tonight. We're going to talk about everything that's to do with wellness. So anything with mindset, anything from mindset to nutrition, to prevention, to movement, to who knows what we can talk about after that. But I mean, this is pretty much and why it is related to acting. Why is it so important for an actor to have this in their life?
Hmm.
And so she's here tonight. Are we ready to have her on?
I'm just waiting for you to give the word. We're all
All
set.
right, ladies and gentlemen, here's Anik Matern.
Hi guys.
Hey, Anik.
Hey, that was a very nice introduction. First of all, can I just say thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really touched and pleased to be here. It's super fun because I saw you guys talk a month ago and I thought, wow, that's a great format, conversational format, and now I'm the special guest.
Yes, you are. We're happy that you said yes too, because you've given a lot to the community. You've given a lot to the craft. You've shown us. You've brought whatever you've accumulated from your experience that you've had in your life, and you brought it to many people. So tonight we're going to talk about that.
And Catherine is giving applause as you walk onto the screen. And Cassandra is going, yoo-hoo, Anik. Hi, guys. Hello, Cassandra. Thank you very much for tuning in. Stefan actually is pointing out he just got 2 roles, and he's got an audition tomorrow for transplant. I've got an audition due Monday for transplant as well. Hope it's not the
Wow,
same role,
excellent!
Stefan.
Congratulations,
Different
Stefan,
builds. Yeah, congratulations.
and to you too,
Lauren
Paul.
Busser, Lots of applause. Amanda, how are you doing, Amanda? The most genuine woman I know. There we
I
are.
agree.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Oh. So Anik,
No. Tears have to happen on screen.
yes.
They're not valid unless they happen on screen.
Uh,
So Anik, tell us. I mean, look, we know that you're an actor and you're a coach, but how did it start though? How did you? How long have you been an actress? And I mean, because I know you already, right? We've talked about this maybe like an hour ago. We were saying, okay, so what are we going to talk about? And I said, well, I know, we're going to do this like as if we're getting to know you, and we are getting to know you. The people that are watching you are getting to know you. So, how long have you been an actress? And let's take it from there.
well, at my age, darling, I won't tell you how long I've been an actress, but let me just lie really well. A little bit over 35 years now, Lenny, and I started coaching about 30 years ago ish. I was working on space cases, and I had a wonderful series regular role on there. And it was a kids show. So two of the kids needed some help, and the producer asked me to do that. And then I started finding this, like, I love doing this. I started already coaching and teaching when I was living in Europe. I moved to Finland in 1986 to 87 because, as you can tell, my mother was Finnish and my dad was French. And so in 91 to 94, I lived in Lyon, France. And in both those places, I learned that I love teaching, and it just grew on me.
Wow. And so what was it the first thing that came to you was as a career when you were young? Did you say, yes, this is exactly what I want?
I always knew that I would not be only an actor. I didn't know quite what else, but I've always been very, very curious, and I love creativity. I love to paint and draw and sculpt. And in high school, I was torn because it was either like, do I go into painting and sculpting and drawing, or do I become an actor? Of course, the acting pulled me. The acting chose me. It's really like the decision was made based on that. And and yeah, so I just started. I just started then, and I decided acting would be my thing. But I would always have other stuff going on.
Right, right. Now I know that you've done quite a few different things as an actor. You've done voice work. You've done like voice work with animation. I mean, obviously you've done commercials as well, but I mean, you've worked with animation. You've done film for sure. You've done film. You've done TV as well. Have you ever done
Video games?
no? Well, video games. Yeah. Have you ever done video games? That's a good question.
No, I haven't done video games. Nope.
Okay.
No, it's something I'd love to do, but yeah.
If I can just interject, if anyone out there who's watching has a question, you can just type it into chat and we'll bring it onto the screen and give Anik the chance to answer that. And thank you again, everybody who is watching.
Yeah.
So Paul, now that I'm wearing glasses, Paul, does that mean it's still 4 guys, 2 guys, 4 eyes? How does that work?
We actually have, technically, we got 10 eyes on right now. But there was I'll go like this. That'll, no, that's 9 eyes. We're the 9-eye Jack.
No.
But I to your answer, it's kind of strange because I do another show called They Talk Funny where I talk to comedians about their process. And the comedian who I interviewed this week, a very funny comedian by the name of Alison June Smith, originally from Calgary, who is currently living in Manchester, UK. And she studied actually as an actress, and why she was waiting for acting kind of taking off because she didn't ride a horse and she was living in Calgary. She got into stand-up comedy, and then it's sort of like stand-up comedy pulled her because there was a better chance for her to advance doing stand-up than there was doing to find acting work while living in Calgary and not being able to ride a horse. So,
wow.
Very
the choices we make.
Yeah. She
Wow.
was
Yeah.
also a drama teacher for a while as well, but in the public school system. So
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
Cool.
So, speaking of choices, Anik, have you ever done? I don't think I've ever asked you this before, but have you ever done theater?
Yes.
I know you've written plays before. This is how amazing you are. But have you ever acted in a theater? Have you ever done theater?
Yeah, I've been in a few theater shows, but I mean, I was just thrilled to be in a Just for Laughs production, one of the last Anglophone productions. It was called Underdogs, and the funny thing is, I played the French girl. Who falls in love with the main actor who's Anglophone, and he was an actor from Toronto, and that was just fabulous. I, in fact, had just come back from Finland at that time, but I got so busy at one point just doing voice work that I was just on call all the time for voice gigs and narrations and voice work, and until I left for Lyon in early 90s.
Wow. Now, before we get into the coaching era, because that's where the juice really starts to, right? Because I know how much you're so passionate about coaching. Tell us a little bit about the masks. You know how much I love. Ever since you've introduced me to mask work, I fell in love with this. It's my favorite thing in acting. But I find it so interesting how you started and how far you've come with that. So
Well, I graduated from John Abbott College, the 3-year professional theater program. And in there, John Terrell had taught us the initial mask work. So we had the full face mask and the half mask, and we did the Commedia dell'arte, and I played Pantalona, which is, these are characters that are like stock characters. So you play them because there's a kind of a rule of thumb in how to portray these characters, how to use your voice, how to use your body and everything. And I kind of found, I liked it. I found it interesting. It was outside the box a bit from regular acting. But man, when those character masks came on, I transformed. I had one of these aha moments that I wish all actors would have. And all of a sudden, I was out of my head. I was in my imagination. I was in the heart of the character. I was encouraged to use a prop, and I was just gone, and yet fully there and present in the moment. I think that's what I would call today a flow state. And I've fallen in love. I fell in love with the masks at that time. When I went off to Lyon, I was teaching theater there, and I decided to make my own masks, right? The sculptor, painter in me said, well, I have the time. And I started to use these 12 masks that I had made from scratch out of my imagination with my students, and we actually created a show with them. And I still use these masks today, although they've been remade by a professional mask maker, so that the medium will last for years and years.
Right.
And it's still my deep passion. I'll never forget that. I think when we have those moments, we never forget them, and they define us.
Right.
we do have a question from the audience. Stéphane Lalonde is asking, what is the most challenging for you in preparing for an audition, and how do you do it?
That's such a good question, Stefan. I think the most challenging thing is not to go, oh my gosh, how many lines do I have, and how many pages do I have, and how much little time do I have to prepare? I've worked really hard at this, and this is what I encourage my actors to do, whether they're my actors that I teach over Zoom or my private coaching clients, is to take that script and to read it objectively so I fully get the concept of the story. I read the character description, and then I go and read the scene. But I read the scene. I try desperately not to get caught up in what it is that I have to do. And eventually I start to count, okay, how many pages and how much focus do I have to put on this within the short amount of time that I have. But it's so important, because otherwise you can miss some very vital and important information that you bring to the work and to your audition.
Right.
Do you use any like tools like Line Learner or any of the apps for line memorization? Or
I do not. I do not. I followed a fellow named Jim Quick, who I find is quite brilliant. He's a gentleman who, um, when he was very young, he had an accident, and he started to have tremendous memory problems, and he was um, titled as the boy with a broken brain. And he grew up with reading comic books and just thinking about his superstars, and that would inspire him to get out of his turmoil. And eventually he started to say, no one else is going to help me, I have to become my own superhero. And he started to figure out how to create memory and memorization exercises, and he's worked with a lot of Hollywood greats, and some of his techniques are really, really cool.
Wow.
we have another question. We've got a couple comments have come in, so I just want to get caught up. Rob Trick is a comedian and actor based out of Toronto. He said he studied mask through a Lecoq tradition. Where did you study after John Abbott College?
I didn't, Rob. I went straight into the business. I studied life, man, big time. I gave myself challenges like living in different countries and seeing how I would adapt to that sort of experience. I think that life is experiential. And although I loved what I learned in college, the reality is that I just felt that I needed to challenge myself in different ways. I needed to learn who I was so that I could bring that to my craft. But Lecoq is amazing, and my teacher at John Abbott College was taught by Lecoq himself. So that's really great, John. I think it's one of the greatest trainings.
You know,
Rob says that he gets it.
people are starting to ask you questions now about, auditions and training and mask and all this. So it looks like we're going to slowly go into, I guess your coaching era. I mean, you still do act presently still today, but you are quite busy with your coaching, Anik. And so how long have you been coaching? Why the transition? Not really a transition, but why the addition to your career? And I mean, I know I've experienced quite a few coaches from you, and I'm sure a lot of people have that are watching tonight. But go ahead, tell us, why coaching? Why didn't you just stay as an actress? Why add that?
It's my calling. I've always, from when I was a young child, I always felt that I wanted to serve. I wanted to serve somehow. And even when I landed certain roles as an actress, I would think about how I was reaching my audience, hoping that somehow I would have a potential effect on making them laugh or cry or touching them in some way. So it's always been in me. It's always been a deep desire. And I started in 1979. I was asked to teach a bunch of kids in a high school, and I was very young myself. That's where I wrote my first ever play, and I put it on with the kids. And many years later, in 1998, after I had come home from France, and I opened. I'd come home from France. I'd landed Space Cases and another series called Back to Sherwood. In 1998, I decided now's the time. I've always followed my gut instinct. It's really difficult. It's challenging in the world in which we live to do that, because you're going to have a lot of people telling you, "What are you doing?" But I sort of felt called to do that. And Dynamic Theatre Factory for 13 years was a big, huge, challenging, ginormous playground for both the actors and myself. That's where my real writing skills came to be. I would tell the kids the first year we opened, kids, they were young adults, but I would tell the young adults, okay, so this is our first year. We're going to open up. We're going to have casting agents and producers come. So we have to write an original show. And they were all like, okay, keen. And 2 weeks before, they were like, Anik, I still can't, and I'll never forget this. This is one of these other moments where I went, okay, I guess I have a show to write. And I started
Right.
from there on. And 13 years later, we were producing our shows at the Centaur Theater at 85% capacity and standing ovations. And so writing is something I have to admit I really miss today, but it is so important for actors to try that venue. Write. Please write if you can, because you'll learn something about yourself and you can bring more respect to your craft as an actor if you understand the skills in writing.
Right. I know in studio, when we would do the improv core in studio, you have brought that activity inside the studio where you made the actors, either write their own character or write their own scene together. We've done that once or twice in the past, and it's great. Absolutely. So now, if I can ask you this.
We do have somebody on the line who's.
Oh, we do. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Somebody named Rosie. So Rosie was saying, what did you pick up living and training in Europe? It's a little back that we were talking about when you were living in Europe, that you carry with you into your work in North America.
Okay, I'll be brief about this. Great question, Rosie, as always. So in Finland, I was in a Swedish-speaking art school in the woods called Folkhögskola, and I figured I would learn how to speak my family's mother tongue there. And long story short, it was an art school, so I got involved in all kinds of program, and theater was one of them. And my teacher eventually said, Anik, I would like you to teach the class. And I went, oh, really? Okay. And then she told me that she was getting all these masks. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so there. So I started, that was my first official, in 1986 was my first official mask teaching workshop. And living in Europe, your senses open up. You don't see the same things the same way. You don't hear the same things the same way. You're tasting different foods. You're understanding what a sense of humor is to a Finn versus a Frenchman or an Anglophone. So you grow, and you grow tremendously. And then when I was living in France, I really started to teach an official group, 2 large groups, and we again created our own original works together. I love the challenge of creation, and I love teamwork, and I love working with actors because I believe it's always a co-creative experience. So Europe helped form me as a person and as a teacher and coach as well.
Travel is important for growth. There is a follow-up.
Follow Rosie with the follow-up questions.
Also, do you see inherent differences between Europe and North America in preparation, industry, and work, etc.? So some of that you sort of covered already, but definitely travel kind of gives people a different perspective, and it helps you in growth and in looking. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I've been agreeing with everything you said. I don't know why I just made it sound like that was the one point I agreed with. Yes. But yeah, so Rosie's question is also, do you see inherent differences between Europe and North America in preparation, industry, and the work, etc.?
Well, a very interesting question. My answer to that is simple. I was there in the 90s, and although I didn't work much as an actor back then, I was looking for work, and I was looking for voice work, and then I got involved with La Ligue d'Improvisation Nationale, which is birthed in Quebec, the LNI, and they do a lot of championships out there. And so I got involved with the French group, and I found myself eventually on stage playing against Quebec. And the audience was confused because I was on the French team, but I had a Quebecois accent. And anyway, amazing experiences. But I wasn't really involved in the film and television industry back then. The moment I got an option to come and audition for voice work, which was just south of Lyon, I had already decided to pack my bags and come back home. So I can't really answer you, Rosie, on that one, other than what I know of today is that there's so much cross-border influence going on. And because of the internet, things are very, very similar. We see how many shows on Netflix are now being shot in Paris and in
Right.
France. I think it's just a mishmash now.
Yeah.
Everyone's learning from everybody.
Absolutely.
I know comedian friends based in the UK now have to get a visa to go to the continent in Europe, which is the past year has been in flux, obviously, because of what's been happening around the world. But that's something that is currently changing in Europe. They had that freedom to travel that they no longer have.
Wow.
Yeah,
So-
and I was lucky because I had a French visa already. My father was French, so made life easy. Yes, Lenny.
Yes. So may I ask my question finally, please? Thank you. But this is great that we're getting these questions coming in. It just makes things a lot more interactive, and people are having fun, and that's the whole point of this, right? Getting to know who Anik Matern is and why she's doing what she's doing. So, and why we love what she's doing. So, Anik, now you've been a coach for what I said. What would you say, about 20 years, 25 years, 20 years, 25 years? Let's say more or less.
Yeah, more or less. Yes.
More or less. Okay. So now, obviously, through the years of your coaching, and also adding the experience of your acting and what you've seen and what you've gone through, but through your coaching years, I'm sure your coaching has changed. Formed itself. Where is it at? Where is it at today? So what is there anything new that you've brought today? I know you have brought a lot of new stuff, and which is a lot of great stuff. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is that how you approach things, what you believe in the system and all that stuff.
Sure. So I'm now holding something called Impro Gym. Impro being short for improv, or I'm a professional, like Lenny likes to say. But to go back briefly, when I held Dynamic Theater Factory, even back then, I was teaching everything having to do with heart and brain coherence without really knowing what that meant back then. I would have a spiritual inclination to things, but I wouldn't necessarily talk about it because you didn't talk about those things back then. In the early 90s, mid 2000s, it was still a bit woo-woo. And even today, it's a little woo-woo. When you say the word spiritual, some people go, oh, what? It's not religious, but it is an inclination towards understanding that we are more than what we think we are. And we are energy first. And so my whole methodology today is based on that concept, on the fact that Nikola Tesla, for example, said, if you want to understand the universe, you only have to understand three things: that we are energy, frequency, and vibration first. The first law of the universe is the law of vibration. So what does that mean? Well, if you listen to some of the great thought leaders today, like Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, they're bringing to the forefront the understanding of this concept. And at one point, the wonderful Bruce Lipton, who's a cell biologist who was an absolute atheist until he discovered that every cell has a receptor around it. He talks eventually about EEGs, electroencephalographs. When you put them on your head, they read your brain, right? Well, now they have something called magnetoencephalographs. So what does that mean? Well, it means that there's a probe that they put outside of the body that is able to pick up our thoughts. And the whole concept is that we have a quantum force field around the body. Some people will call it an aura. And that force field apparently goes out into a worldwide web of electricity, of energy. And when we have a thought, that thought is born in our mind, but is broadcast into this force field. So I love the science of things. I love the fact that science is now sort of bridging the understanding of metaphysics and what it means to our reality. And why is that important? Because as actors, we're constantly trying to shape-shift reality. But we get caught in the real world, in the what is. And so I'd like to kind of challenge actors on all these concepts and
There was
kind
a
of wake
paper
them up.
published there was a paper published on that topic. I either December or January. I've been just trying to find it to get the source. I can't quite find the article, but I remember it because it was also a big. The comedian Bill Hicks was a big proponent of that and included that in his stand-up. That we are all just energy. So.
And it's so, so very true. And mindset is so important. Actors are sensitive, very sensitive human beings. And if we want to understand how to, portray the behavior of another, we have to understand how to control ourselves, our thoughts, our wellness, the way we breathe. What does that mean to breathe? And I think you, Lenny, have learned something in that department about breath work, right?
Yeah, I mean, Rosie and I, we do this breathing exercise that is given from Wim Hof, which you introduced us to 3 years ago-ish kind of thing, 4 years ago-ish kind of thing, 4 or 5 years ago. It was counting. And and it's just there's different types of breathing exercises, and this is one that Rosie and I really relate to, and we've been doing it. I guess you could say you introduced it to us for about 4 years, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, but we've been doing it like every single morning. I think for the past 2.5 years, 3 years, 2.5 years, 3 years, like every single morning, except the weekends, we take a little break, but Monday to Friday, and it helps us with our day. You don't need to do it in the morning. You can do it anytime during the day, whenever you find time to relax. But Rosie and I, we do it before we literally get out of bed. And it's literally like, I think 10, 15 minutes kind of thing. It's really, really nice. And it just clears your mind, makes you really be ready for your day, whatever it is you're doing. And everything is clear. And thanks to you, Anik.
When we wake up in the morning, our body is in an acidic state, and this alkalines your blood. Wim Hof won over 25 Guinness Book of World Records. Like, his breathing technique has taken the world by storm. He's written a book called The Iceman, and his whole technique is about breath and cold therapy. And in the breathing itself, I mean, you just you come and kind of realign your autonomic nervous system when you breathe properly. You oxygenate your cells. Sometimes if you do it regularly, you can even go to the mitochondrial aspect of the cell, which is the battery pack in the cell. I mean, we don't understand, regular people don't understand the importance of breath work and how it can change your life. And when COVID hit, we were right at the end of a course, right? And a lot of the actors were like, really, thank God I did breathing, because he was tested in the hospital. He and 20 of his followers, they did 4 days of training, and then the doctors gave them an endotoxin shock, not endotoxin shock, but endotoxin shot in the arm. And none of them fell sick. And an endotoxin is a pathogen. It's a pretty wicked one. And so even when COVID came along, I was saying, I just wish we would think as a society a little bit more about prevention and what that means to us as human beings, how our health and wellness is a priority number one. Actors often look outside of themselves for answers, and I want to empower actors and anyone who's interested, really, but actors especially, to think of themselves as empowered people, and that they come from that place when they begin to work, and that takes training,
Right.
do that.
And all this breathing techniques and meditation and all this, it really does help, because I felt the difference. Rosie's felt the difference. Other actors that have come to the gym, you ask them, they it's changed their lives. I mean, even outside of acting, it's changed their lives. And but in relation to acting, I know that we've seen it many times. I've felt it myself. I've been told also, Rosie tells me this every single time I do an audition, you're not breathing. You're not breathing. and it helps when you do just take a moment, you step back for a little second, and then you come back, you take a breath, and then you come back, and you see the difference, a huge difference. So it does make sense with this, relaxing and breathing, and it helps your focus as well.
Meditation, and I'll just make this very brief because I know Paul wants to ask something, but meditation is so important because they also talk about neuroplasticity today. So if you're someone who's very anxious, and I know a lot of actors can have anxiety issues, it's amazing how it helps restructure the brain. Meditating is amazing. And today they have things about meditation, even on Netflix. So everything's growing exponentially in this arena. And I finally, I don't feel so alone in my, love of all these concepts. Paul, please go ahead.
I just want to catch up on the comments. Stefan Lalonde said, Bruce Lipton, I love him. Everything is energy and helps my creativity. I agree. He also said that I think any spiritual practice, breathing, pranayama, visualizations help me as a person and to get into character.
Absolutely.
Again, so if anyone has any comments, please just drop them in the chat. And remember to hit the like button. And if you like this show, please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll be notified when things like these are coming up again.
Yes. Paul, same for you. I mean, I feel like I'm hogging Anik. Anik and I, when we start talking, we could talk for 3 hours. Sometimes we say we're going to have a meeting about Impro Gym, and you think it's an hour. It's like 4 hours later, and we're like, oh my God, it's dinner time. We started this meeting at 2 p.m.
Saying, where are you, Matern?
I might add a comment here or there, but I'm most important are the people who are watching, and I want to make sure that they get the chance to be heard. And if somebody is visually impaired, even though I bring the comment up, I want to make sure that I read it out loud so it can be heard, so everybody feels included, because being included is also a powerful thing. So,
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And you talk about meditation and inclusion. Have you ever heard, Paul, of the Maharishi effect? So in the mid 80s in Chicago, a bunch of Tibetan monks got together to meditate for a week with the ultimate intention of lowering the crime rate. And it worked for a period of 6 months afterwards. So when we meditate together as a group in the gym, it's not just, okay, let's lie on the floor and let's just kind of try to relax and maybe fall asleep and snore. It's really about, because that happens sometimes and that's okay, but it's really about like just understanding that as we're meditating together, we're affecting this force field that's around us. And week after week, as we're training, we're encouraging our thoughts, our positive thoughts and energies into that force field. And I think it's winner. And I have a teacher named, an old teacher, an ex-teacher, who used to say that, you have to want things, desire them, and let them go, and they will come to you. Warren Robertson was a great teacher in Montreal for a whole bunch of actors in the mid-90s. And he used to say that, and he used to go, well, what does he mean by that? Today, I fully understand. It's like when you want something really, really strongly, and you say, well, I'm thinking positively, and I desire things, and nothing's coming to me, there's a definite reason for that. And I like to cover those kinds of things in the work and make actors understand why,
So now a lot of go ahead, Paul, you want to say something?
Well, Lauren Busser just was agreeing with you 100%, and Teresa Doyle saying, Terry the Outlaw, you are a marvelous actress. You've spoken about the spiritual. How do you handle a character who is in essence evil, very much unlike yourself?
Oh, wow, Teresa, what a
heavy question.
Great question. I'm an angel, but my God, I'm also a devil. So I've played like witches, and I played in a movie once called The Minion, or AKA Nightfall, and that was with Dolph Lundgren. And I played a cop who gets possessed by the devil, and I become one of the minions of the devil. And I think that, the beauty of actors is that the more we massage this imagination that we have, the more our belief system grows. And visualization is super important. Shakti Gawan wrote a book about it, the creative visualization. And the minute we start to just, let ourselves go there, we embrace our dark side, because we all have one. We all have one. And it's not because, I bring actors to the gym and I put on incense and say, let's think about the light, my friends. It's not that. It's really about understanding our full potential as actors, what we are totally made of, and then going for every color in the crayon box and playing that out. So playing a witch for me was one of the funnest things ever. Plus she had a British accent, and she locked Maid Marian and Robin Hood in the Sherwood Forest. So it was a blast.
I always like, no villain actually thinks of themselves as a villain. So to play somebody evil, you just try to recognize their motivations, and a lot of times it just comes to greed. So if somebody's selfish, playing selfish, you don't have to, I think, isn't playing a villain not thinking of yourself as the villain, as just as somebody who's working from maybe negative emotions such as greed or hatred, but you yourself see yourself as the hero.
Well,
Even if the
that's a
script
very,
doesn't balance out that way.
yeah, Paul, that's very interesting. I mean, I think overall what it comes down to is that we must never judge our character. And that's the biggest trap that we can make as actors. You can't portray with empathy another character if you're coming from a point of judgment. So you have to break things down and try to have a backstory, understand the physical aspect of that character, the sociological aspect of that character. Where did they grow up? How are they affected? I mean, a rapist or someone that murders somebody, they were a victim of something themselves. And the minute you come from a place of empathy, then you can play a more realistic 3D rendition of a character versus, I mean, when I was playing the witch, I certainly didn't have to go that deep. It was a comedy for kids. It was a show for kids. But I had my actor secret, like I did in my other series. I always choose a secret. And the secret I had with Brennan, which I think I have a picture of here. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but Brennan the witch. It was that she was actually very old, and she had drunk a potion to keep her young. So there was an old quality about her, but she had this very younger looking allure. And I think it's really fun when you're an actor to have a secret nobody else knows about. You don't even mention it to another actor because it fuels you.
That's really good to know. Yeah, because I mean, not that anybody in the realistic world, when people are walking, if there's like a, unless you would want to admit it, but I mean, I don't think people that are let's say selfish will say, no, I'm not selfish. They won't say, yes, I'm selfish. I am selfish. They're not aware of it. Exactly. So I don't think, I think that's the difference. When you make it obvious, the show and tell, when you're showing that, like, okay, I'm supposed to be greedy. Okay, here, give me that, like, or I don't know, like you're being an asshole or something, and you're just,
you're stuck in your shit. You're stuck in your
exactly.
shit. Excuse my French, but
the characters don't see it as that. That's
exactly. And that's the important point to make. Yeah.
So with meditation and breathing techniques, does this bring you into a direction of mindset?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It helps. It's one of the things that helps. Another thing that helps is to consider what professional athletes do. I think there was the casting workbook at one point was they put on something with a fellow named Joe Town, and he spoke all about mindset with a concept of how coaches train athletes and the kind of rituals and rigor that an athlete needs to perform on a daily, regular basis in order to get to a super high performance state. And I've been thinking about that and writing down things about that for years. And the only thing is, I think that's, although an attainable, interesting concept, I think that the metaphysical aspect of understanding the way the universe works, because once you start putting it into action, you'll see the results as well. I think the combination of both are ultra powerful. And I'm in the midst of listening on Audible, a really interesting book by a man named Stephen Kotler. It's called Mapping Cloud 9. And it's a fantastic book. It's one of his few books. He's a journalist, and he works with like high performance athletes, adventure athletes, people that do nutty things, like this guy named Danny Way, who jumped off the wall of China with his skateboard.
Wow.
Even though he had a broken ankle and a shattered knee from a previous attempt. So he talks, Stephen Kotler talks about getting into the flow state. And, when you're meditating, you're in a flow state. So this is all the same things. We start to connect the dots when we start understanding. The first law of the universe is the law of vibration. Well, what does that mean? Well, when you carry a thought, if it's a negative thought, you're on a lower vibration. If you carry a good feeling thought, it's all about feelings, then chances are your vibration will rise. And even Stephen Kotler admits that there's an equal thing with a high performance athlete and someone who is trying to achieve a high spiritual state. And it's fascinating. He's a fascinating man. And I think all of these things are starting to come together. The concept of a head and heart coherence. Greg Braden, who talks about that. The Heart Math Institute in California has been doing these studies for 20 years now. It's phenomenal what they're coming out with. We are more than what we know. We used to think the brain was everything.
Absolutely.
I always knew it wasn't. It's just that all I could say was, no, emotions and heart is important, and in fact, it comes down to the fact that the heart has 40,000 neurites in it, and it's almost more powerful. It's electromagnetic. It's almost more powerful than the brain.
It's amazing, and at the same time, having all that on your side or incorporating that in your lifestyle, there's also the side of nutrition that plays a big role in this as well, right?
Yeah, because of course what we eat affects our body. Our body is a vibrant living source. We are made of electricity and chemical and water and matter. So it's really important as we're growing older, especially, if we want different results in our life. And I'm not talking about losing weight and dieting, because I don't believe in that. I believe you need a change of thought, like everything in your life. When you want to create a transformation for yourself, it can't be a quick fix thing. It has to be a lifelong pursuit. And diet and nutrition are ultra important, and today more than ever, because look how many people are sick today. Look how much through COVID we have heard nothing but vaccine, masks, removing ourselves from the public, and all those things are legit. I'm not saying that, but how much have we heard about prevention? How much have we really heard about in the news? That stuff. We rarely do.
Right.
And do people know how to boost their immune system? Oh, they'll take a glass of orange juice and they'll think, well, I've got my vitamin C for the day.
Yeah.
You don't want to know what's in that orange juice, even if it says Tropicana, and you don't want to know.
Sugar.
You don't want to know how they transport that juice. So over the years, I've become very passionate. I've always been passionate about nutrition, but I fell sick at one point, and it was my greatest teacher.
It's so interesting, and I know we talk about this practically on a daily basis. And Rosie and myself, our lives have changed, Paul, because of this. I mean, we never really ate bad before, but we're just taking more notice now. It's the noticing part that we have to put into action. I mean, you could still eat what you eat, I guess, as long as it's not fried food 7 days a week, and it's not, you're not eating candies or whatever it is. You're not ingesting things that are horrible for you, like on a daily basis. But you could have your regular,
feel good meal,
but always take notice and say, well, you know what? Okay, I think I've had too much of that. I think I'm gonna take it easy. And Rosie and I know we used to drink lots of coffee before. A bit of coffee is good. Caffeine can be good for you, I guess. But I mean, we've been drinking teas for like 2-3 years now, and we have a coffee, from time to time. And if we do, it's decaffeinated coffee. But I mean, but our system has changed enormously, drastically. When we have a little coffee with some caffeine, I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. And I have some teas. We have different teas, for different days. How we're depending on how we're feeling. But you're absolutely right. Nutrition does play a part. And before we go to the gym or before I go to do an audition, well, now we do it on self-tape, but even before I do a self-tape, drink a lot of water, the beginning of the day, and it's, and try not to eat too much before you go on, but always stay healthy.
Try to cut out the things that create inflammation. A lot of people have inflammation in the body. They're not even aware of it. So what's happening with most people today is your body can take a lot when you're younger, but as you start to grow older, your body will slowly start showing signs.
There is another thing is human beings are designed to consume. We're not designed to know to stop. And everything is toxic in enough quantity. Oxygen can be toxic in a pure form. Water, you can overdose on water.
You can drown,
not just drown, but a combination of ecstasy and drinking when you're not relieving, you can actually kind of crush your brain. There's always that. So everything is moderation and variation.
Yes.
Is helpful, and it's. Though I'm a big fan of Doug Stanhope, who says, never trust people who tell you to stick to moderation, because how do you know where the middle of the road is unless you've been in the ditch on the other side? So
that's true. That is true.
That is, but the thing is, it is making sure you vary your diet, vary your activity, so you don't sort of bulk in one direction and build up any toxicity from any one source, so you can have a chance for your body to flush. We also have Melissa is saying a change of thought that leads to a change of you that you are willing to ride out, whether you're climbing mountains or down in the valley. So that's Melissa's thought on what has been said.
Like that. But Paul, to get back to what you were saying about how do you know where what was it again, that line?
How do you know where the middle of the road is unless you've been in the ditch on the other side? Right.
Yeah. But how do you know where the ditches are if you've never been in the middle of the road?
It's easy. You've run into the ditch. you woke up face down in it. I'm not trying to discuss my childhood here, but
everything in moderation. Absolutely. But if you're looking to live a vital life, at one point you have to think, my energy here, why don't I have the same amount of energy I used to when I was younger? We always think, it's just because I'm growing older. No, it's not just that. In fact, if you look at Japan, there's a lot of very healthy 100 centenarians. Like there's people growing into old age, but that are healthy, full of vital life force, because whatever they're doing, they're feeding their mitochondria, they're feeding their cells, they're getting enough air, they're hydrating enough. And we live in a society where, you feel a little tired, grab a coffee. What does that coffee do? It goes and it kind of stimulates your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are already stressed because you've been stressed. And so we get into a vicious cycle. It's just a matter of awareness at some point. Nutrition is important on that level. But have your hamburger and your French fries, because God knows they're good every now and again. I let go too.
There's an anime that I recommend people check out. It's meant for kids, but it's very educational. It's called Cells at Work, and it's the life of the cells inside the body.
Yeah.
Rosie was saying, what do you know now at this stage of your career as extremely critical to a preparation before an audition, and then during to result in a killer audition that you didn't know when you were younger?
Great question. So I know that it's super important for me to do a really good workout before I do an audition. So I allow my brain to release all kinds of feel-good endorphins. My heart rate lowers. I walk into the room and I feel like I'm there and I'm present, and my brain isn't racing. I prep on my memory. I will record my script on my phone so that I also learn to memorize it auditively. I make sure now, always, which I didn't do when I was younger, to work with someone on the script out loud, as opposed to walking into the audition and then trying to wing it, because my listening skills aren't up to par yet, even if I have especially when I have very little time. And I meditate. I meditate before I go. I get into a meditation that I choose that's empowering. And I work on my visual as much as my memory. So I visualize that audition going well. I visualize every moment that I want to hit going well, and it makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Stefan has commented, consciousness, nutrition. I agree. Very great video. I'm learning a lot from you and very thankful and grateful. Thank you very much, Stefan.
Thanks, Stefan.
Thank you,
for watching.
Stefan.
This will remain on the channel until YouTube takes me down for any myriad of reasons. So you can always share it with your friends and recommend it to others. And hit the like. I'm actually looking at how many people are watching, and no one has hit like at this point. So
hit like.
Like, guys, like it.
Press like, press subscribe. It's just down at the corner. Go ahead, take it away, Lenny.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the clock. We got 2 minutes left before the show wraps, unfortunately, because like I said earlier, when Anik and I start talking, it's like it'll be 2 a.m. before the show ends, and Paul's going to be sleeping on a microphone. But the last 2 minutes, unless there's any other questions, Anik, I want to thank you. I thank you every day, but tonight for the show, I want to thank you for saying yes. I think it's really important. Yes, you could have said so much more. And like I said, we could have been here for hours because there's so much to talk about. But maybe we can definitely have you back again some other time. If anybody wants to ask any questions, to Anik, or if they want to know more about Impro Gym, or they want to know about Anik's coaching. I know with if you go on Facebook, you can find Impro Gym on Facebook. Just search for
on YouTube. The links are actually in the video description, so you can actually just click on the links in the description.
Oh, great!
And they'll be there, and I'll make sure that those links will also appear on Facebook after the show. Melissa is saying absolutely that she's grateful as well. JJ Glover, Anik, how do you change your voice to so many characters? Any suggestions?
Work with a voice coach. To change your voice really means to get into character. How does a 6-year-old talk? Mom, I want to go to the bathroom. And you kind of play around. And then how does an old woman speak? Well, the tones go down because as life gets heavier and slower, so does the voice. So you play around, play, have fun, keep the child in you alive, stay curious. All those things are great for voice actors.
Hey, you know
And
what?
yeah, go Lenny.
No, it's just with the way you stood your the way you presented yourself this way. It kind of reminded me of the Laban method. And I was saying maybe the physical being physical can actually help with your voice as well. Find your voice, can't it?
Possibly.
That's why I train body, mind, and spirit. Absolutely. We do Laban, there's Alexander technique, there's Feldenkrais, there's all kinds of different physical movement techniques. But, you know, we need to, who was it the other day? I think it was Hugh Jackman that was talking about that when he gets ready for a role, he's going to walk around like the character. He's going to sit like the character. Some of these great, great actors like Scarlett Johansson, I don't know, Charlize Theron, Meryl Streep, Anthony Hopkins. These are actors that assimilate a character. They go from inside out, right? And you can't forget your body even when you're doing voice work. I was helping someone on a voice audition the other day, and the character was like, I keep moving my hands like this when I'm doing the voice. And I said, yeah, you should be in a studio. You watch the voice actors, it's entertainment, because they're all just like, oh my God, you know, they move. The body has to, right? It needs to express as well. We are all one thing.
Shoulder and arm movement
Cool.
changes the lung shape, which changes your breathing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Paul,
that's-
we're
as a stand-up comic, we can go a little into overtime here. We've got a series of questions that are built up in chat.
oh great.
As
Okay.
well.
Another what? What are we calling a time?
We'll until Anik needs to go, and you need to go. But I mean, we won't be going too much longer. Just I guess short answers.
Okay.
Jake
Yeah.
Glover had a follow-up question with what's your favorite role?
What was my favorite role? I guess, look, I have to admit, playing the first ever female android on a space series was pretty freaking cool. And I really got to invent her. I came into the auditions, they had already cast this role in Vancouver. They'd auditioned in New York and LA, Vancouver, Toronto, and they were coming to Montreal in the end because they were producing the series here. And I got very inspired by the character. And I came in and I landed the role, and I was doing things that I felt were outside the box and a little risky. So, you know, I still can do this today. So I would play Thelma like this. Thelma, I am a techno-human emulating machine. And it was just like
Robot.
crazy stuff. And they were like, Anik, we're going to keep that in the series. So, okay. But, you know, I think if you're just in that flow state, you're having fun, you're inspired by the role you're doing, go for it and go all the way. Don't doubt, because you have to bring something that's unexpected to the role.
They can always tell you to pull it back a little. And then when it comes to voices, if I can quote Andre Philippe Gagnon, who's incredible with doing voices,
Yes.
Quebec artist, is he views them as little strings in his head. And so he just pulls on the string to see what he gets. And then if it doesn't quite match, he'll pull another string.
I love that.
Wow.
Rosie was saying, does Anik have any closing tips for actors, and when is the next online improv gym sign up?
Big question.
Any closing tip for actors? Yeah. Please, actors, empower yourselves. Read self-help motivational books, inspirational books, books that have to do with the human condition. Read, because although we're in the world of the internet today, there's nothing that elicits ideas quite like reading. And be good to yourselves. Actors are always the first ones to shoot themselves in the foot. Go into an audition as one great actor mentioned this week. I think you had mentioned it, Lenny, the actor who talked about going into an audition.
Bryan
And
Cranston.
Bryan Cranston, exactly. And he said, I no longer am going in there like a job interview, hoping to land the job. I'm going in there changing my mindset. And I'm thinking instead, I'm going in there to perform. And they either hire me or they don't. And again, there's a perfect example of mindset and how important it is for actors. So,
Right, and I've also heard the saying, when you're first, when you know the first feeling you get, you're like, oh my god, you're on your way to an audition, and you say the first thing you say to yourself, if you're feeling nervous, right? Instead of saying, I feel nervous. Wow, this is exciting.
yes.
You just kind of just change the words around, and you'll notice you'll feel a little better just because of the change of your state of how what's that word I'm looking for? You just have to replace the word. You know what I mean? It's all how you're looking at things.
Your attitude.
Exactly. And if you're going to be nervous about something, well, you're going to perform nervously. You're
going to focus on that. Yeah.
You're going to focus on that.
Yeah.
And but at the end of the day, it's exactly that. It's just a matter of changing your words, changing your mind. Mm. And sometimes it's just that easily. A lot of people will say, it takes time. I have to relax. Well, no, I mean, you're nervous. So that you just have to get rid of that. Then everything else could take some time, obviously, but at least you get the bad stuff out right away.
But an actor should always be nervous. Don't ever think, oh, I got to be so calm. I've been there, done that, tried that. Doesn't work. The nervousness is super important.
It gives you adrenaline, keeps you on edge.
Yeah, it keeps you on edge. Exactly. You have to be engaging in your work. And there has to be a sense of danger. If there's no danger, we're all going to fall asleep. So the nerves are good. It's just part of your training by doing some of the things we talked about this evening will keep you in a state of preparedness, openness, readiness, right? And if I can say this to actors, this is a tough business. And it's not tough when you're working. It's tough when you're not. And most of us are not working as often as we would like. So learn how to manage the in-between times. Stay creative. Paul's very creative. He's doing a bunch of things. That creativity is so important to showing up and walking into the room and not feeling like you need the job. You want the job.
Right.
And you vibe very differently because of it. So that's pretty important advice, if I can say. Don't go in there wanting it so much that they kind of feel it.
And the second part of that question was, when's the next online improv gym sign up? The link is, of course, at the bottom of the video, or will be on the Facebook. It is there for the YouTube version.
The next sign up is on the 21st of April on a Wednesday. So so we're gonna be launching information on that as well. And we've just finished off a wonderful 8-week session on Audition Everything. So the actors were challenged and stimulated and
we have one more week left.
Yeah, we have one more week. Yeah, we're wrapping up. Yes. Exactly. We have one more week left. So the actors were encouraged to watch their own audition tapes, learn from them what works, what doesn't. And it was very helpful, very, very helpful. So we're going to be doing a combination of scene work and audition work for the next one.
Amanda is asking, how much success comes from talent versus preparation?
Hi, Amanda. That's such a great question. How much success comes from talent versus preparation? You can have all the talent in the world. If you're not prepared, you're just going to wing it, and chances are you're going to fall on your face. Maybe not every time, but preparation is your grounding to everything. It's like going into a yoga class and saying, well, I haven't stretched in 4 weeks, but I'm going to, put my hands down to the floor. Okay, good luck with that. You might pull something, right? So anyway, it's about preparation more than talent. Your talent will come as you're more prepared because you'll loosen up. You'll have the grounding there and you'll loosen up and your talent will come through. But if you're just counting on your talent, that's the unfortunate thing. And
Yeah,
some actors think, they finish school and they think, well, I know it all.
Yeah, you were just talking about that on Wednesday, at the ImproCore session. You were mentioning how you were so proud of some actors that got some roles, and without mentioning, of course, the names, but you were saying how well prepared they were and how they did the work.
Yeah, there was a girl in my private coaching that I had live here downstairs for a live Zoom audition with a director from Los Angeles and the casting agent from LA as well. And she had come to see me the Thursday before that Monday. And so we did a lot of preparation discussion and script analysis on her callback. Because even though she'd gotten a callback, she still wanted to be like in the flow state. So when she arrived here, she brought her huge piano with her because the actor, the character has to play the piano, and she learned how to play the piano over the weekend. Her father actually taught her, and they were impressed. They were like, "Wow, you learned that over the weekend." And what's also great is that she came from a point of the character is going through something very difficult, but she came from a point of playing an achiever, someone who's striving for something and not a victim. And the director thought that was so interesting. He said, wow, that was really, really, that's exactly how I wanted you to portray her. I didn't say anything though when you did it. And he worked with her on the second scene as well, and she just brought it to the table. I was very impressed, but that's someone who's prepared. She's also someone that I have to add this, but she also meditates and does visualization, and she understands this thing that we are more of, and she brings that energy with her into her work. And she's phenomenal. Every time I get a chance to have her here in a coaching session, I'm impressed. And for me to be impressed, I'm like, okay, you go, girl.
JJ Glover is saying, Anik, you are so talented, but to me, you will always be Thorin the elf.
Okay. Well, you know what? I got the ears to prove it. I even have pointed ears. There they, you see?
It's a Finnish heritage. Rosie is saying, what is the number one thing that Lenny has learned since training with Anik and his experience with Impro Gym?
What is the number one thing that I've learned since training with Anik? I'm learning every single time I'm talking to this girl. I mean, Anik is a girl. Yes, she looks like a woman, but she will always be a girl to me. Anik is a little girl, and this is why she's successful also, because she always likes to play, and I think that's one thing that I'm always reminding myself of is we're in this because we're having fun, most importantly. And when you're having fun on a serious note, I find that's where I find that people will notice you. You'll do great work. You'll work with others. People will love to work with you because you're bringing the fun to them. And I think viewers that are watching TV or they're watching films or they're in theater watching a play, you're always bringing it to them, right? So if you're not bringing the fun to them, you're going to be boring. And Anik brings that to me, and she's always brought that to the gym. Even, you know, when I first took her workshop, you know, years back there. I never know how many years are back there, but somewhere there. But I mean, you know, it's the fun. When I think of Anik, I think of fun. I think of, but on a serious level, of course. You know, we take everything seriously, but it's always about fun, because if you take out the fun and take it seriously, well, then we're just going to be, you know, might as well just say the news then, the 6 o'clock news, because that's, you know, they do things very seriously, you know. But yeah, that's the number one thing. I mean, aside from so many things that I've learned from her, and I'm still learning from her, and I think we're going to be learning for years to come. We learn for the rest of our lives, right? So,
Melissa Toussaint is saying, space cases, laugh my ass off. 90s kid, small world. See, fans, the fans are out there. You need to be a guest on Comic-Con. That's, you know, get you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And JJ Glover is, how do you cope with not getting a role you really wanted?
Oh.
Melissa's also said facts on the preparation, 100%. And I think JJ's is the last question. So how do you cope with not getting a role you really wanted?
It's happened more often than I can shake a stick at. I think you just have to let it go. That's it. That's all. The more you do the proper preparation, the more you have fun in your audition, the easier it is to let it go. So the more you get to that state as an actor where you're going in and performing and not auditioning, the more you just let it go. So it's harder when you feel like, I missed a couple of those notes. But even there, you know, with time as an actor, you get really good with forgetting. Like, you're on to the next thing. You know, if we want to evolve, we never want to live in the past. We always have to look forward. And I thanks, JJ, for your questions previously, also with the voice stuff. There's so much stuff I did in the voice world. I've never even seen it. You know, there's so many projects. I just went on to the next, right? Because that's what you do as an actor. And it's great. It's great. You're serving the world in some way, and that's important for actors to remember. You know, bring your heart, bring your soul, bring your spirit, bring your risks, your fears, your ugliness, your truths, your lies, bring them all. But bring something, you know?
absolutely. And, you know, if you think about it, everything that an actor has to bring is everything that's inside them, right, Anik? So if you're going to do that, you have to tap into, one, also your insanity. You have to tap into everything, your sanity, your insanity. You have to tap into, like what you're saying, your ugliness, your goodness, your all of this. And which kind of like leads into also, you know, when you're talking about, you know, meditation and breathing and metaphysics and all this stuff that I'm still trying to figure out myself. I'm still learning this, right? But I mean, all these things you have to be opened that there's more than just training as an actor. You know, you learn, okay, you do your script analysis, you do this, but there's got to be more than that. There's got to be more than just, oh, well, I know how to cry on the spot. Well, there's got to be more than that, because we are evolving as human beings. We are learning more as we're going on in life, right? And there's just more things that are coming up. And we're saying, hey, well, you know that there's this and there's that. And you're like, oh, we didn't know that before. Kind of like, you know, when we go from Stanislavski, you know, to Strasbourg, to Stella Adler, to Meisner. I mean, like, as the years are going, there's different strategies, there's different theories, there's different, you know, so we have to grow. We have to grow. And I think
Stella Adler, oh my God, I mean, amazing woman, you know, a Yiddish background. Her father, Adler, was like the most amazing actor of his time in New York in the Jewish ghetto. Yiddish, it's all about passion, you know? It's and we have to remember that. We got to bring the passion to our work. Otherwise, what are you doing? So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Anik, Paul,
Hey.
I guess this is the time where we're going to say goodbye. But I'll start by saying goodbye first. I want to say thank you to Anik again for being such a great guest. She's always going to be welcome because there's definitely more to talk about. We didn't even barely mentioned improvisation, which is definitely a huge game player in the acting training.
Arena.
When in the arena. Thank you. So thanks, Anik. We'll definitely have you back. Paul, thanks to you. Well, thanks to you for putting this all together. It's because of you that this was possible. So.
Yeah, so we bounce off of each other fairly well, so that's why I wanted to continue this with the 2Guys8Eyes. Oh shoot! I don't have my 8 eyes.
Well, now it's a guy girl with 4 eyes. Well, now we're 6 eyes. Technically, people that wear glasses are called 4 eyes. So technically, there's 12 eyes.
There you go.
So it's 2 guys, a
2
girl,
guys,
and 12
eyes. 2 guys, a girl, and 3's company, and 12 eyes. 12 eyes.
Gender equivalent. 12 eyes. What?
Yeah.
What? All right.
Well, I would like to thank you both very, very much, Paul. It was nice to be here with you and spend more time with you. And Lenny, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. It has been since day one. I'm so glad Rosie got us to speak together, and then things went from there. But this was a wonderful time spent together. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and thanks to everybody who asked the questions. Like I said, if you have any other questions, there's the link you said at the bottom of the YouTube page, right, where they can
video in the description.
Send us a message.
And thank you for everybody definitely tuning in. Rob Trick, who I've not talked to in so long. It was good hearing from you, from Amanda. I can't remember how long ago we worked together.
Amanda.
In the chat. It was great to talk to you. Thank you very much, everybody. And thank you, Lenny, for inviting Anik on. This has been 2Guys8Eyes plus guest. So take care, everybody. Enjoy your month. We should be back next month with another guest, hopefully, and we'll talk more. Enjoy.
Absolutely. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.